What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Alan. This is Norris Arms. Today I'm going to be going through a handgun that I picked up to see if it was going to be something that could be a good budget option, especially for Washington State with our magazine restrictions, and for the price point, if it's something that's worth it or if it's just a hunk of junk. That is the SAR B6C. This is the compact version, hence the C. It's normally a 13+1, but because we are in Washington State, we get the 10 round limited capacities. And I wanted to see if it was worth it, because I want to know in the comment section if you guys have noticed that the restricted magazines are problematic when it comes to actually functioning in a firearm. I know I've had a lot more malfunctions due to magazines with restricted ones, depending on the manufacturer, because not everyone manufactures them to a higher quality. They're just like, oh, okay, cool, put a dent right here, or oh, hey, just add some extension on this or that, or it's a total cluster when it comes to how each manufacturer decides to do their restriction on the capacity of the magazines. But these are normally a 13+1, and the way the SAR seems to have done it is they added some length on the follower to stop it, and they have a dent, but it's not just a little tiny pinhole dent like most manufacturers. It's actually an elongated and tapered dent in the magazine. So I wanted to see if it was going to function. Now, I will say I got this from Palmetto State Armory during their St. Patrick's Day sale for under 2 Bennies. And that's why I was just like, you know what? Let's see if it's worth it, because I have noticed that these go on sale quite a bit for under 2 Bennies. And even if not, they're roughly the same price as most double stack striker fire compacts like the SAR 9C, the Palmetto State Dagger, all of those. So it's one of those, is it worth it kind of things. I will say that Palmetto State did not offer the 10 round mag. It is 13 on their site. They take the magazines out of the box, so you don't get a magazine with it. That is one downside, but again, it was under 2 Bennies. I just hopped online and I found some and ordered them in. Total, I think it was like $210. That's where it's sitting. So I just wanted to see, especially if you're somebody that likes to have an external safety on your firearm and wants a hammer fire. Now, this hammer fire isn't a single action, it is a single double, so you do get the double action usability out of this. It does have a longer trigger pull. I have been just kind of messing with it. I haven't run anything through it yet, so let's go ahead and run the first shots through this and see how it does. It ran pretty good. It's definitely something to get used to if you're used to a double stack striker fire trigger or a 1911 trigger. It's got a funk to it. It doesn't have a whole lot of grip. There's not a whole lot of stippling. Like, there is a little bit here. It's got grooves cut in the back here, but they don't seem to really give much actual grip on it. And same on the front. It's the same setup. The side, it looks like there's stippling, but it's pretty slick in the hand. It does point kind of an in-between of a 1911 style pointing with the index point and the Glock style with the thumb point. Is somewhere in the middle. I pulled 3 of those shots to the left. One of them's farther to the right. They're all right center mass, though. I mean, if this was a C-zone target, they'd all be on. For $200, though, I mean, can you really complain too much? I've been trying to find some of the aftermarket stuff. I'm going to be using this to see what I can do for a budget option and make it something that's a little bit better. We're going to see what upgrades we can get for this, because this is based on the CZ75, or the Shadow 2 is the higher end version of what this is supposed to be. I wouldn't necessarily call it a clone because it is a polymer frame. Safeties are a little bit different, and it's one of those, it's kind of based off of this, but not necessarily. I have noticed that EAA makes a pistol almost identical to this. I'm not sure if they're contracted through the same company, manufacturer, to make the parts for them, but we'll see. I'm going to load up another mag and we'll see how this does and see if I can kind of wrangle it in. I also wanted to compare it to another pistol that I got here that you guys have probably seen on the channel before if you've gone through some of my other videos, but it's another SAR. It is the 9C, and this is the Gen 2. They have a Gen 3 out, which has a little bit more to it. This one I got years ago, and I actually really enjoy this. I can put most of my rounds on target. Comparatively, if you guys watched my last video that I had this in and I did all the handguns, I was actually a lot better with the SAR than I was any of the other double stacks that I have for striker fire. But I kind of wanted to see how much of a difference it was for the external hammer with the dual action, single action setup. I kind of want to test that. I'm a little nervous to try and test it just because this doesn't have a decocker. It's just got a safety. So I got to be really careful. I don't recommend necessarily trying this if it's going to be your first handgun, but if you are someone, like I said, that wants an external hammer with a safety, a little bit lighter weight because of the polymer frame, and a decent little carry, this might be an option for you. Now, would this be a home defense? I wouldn't necessarily say so because you don't have the ability to do a red dot. You don't have the ability to put on a light. I'm still trying to find if they have something that like clamps onto the front of the trigger guard here to maybe add a light. I've seen potential options, but nothing actually for sale. So let's go ahead and run a few more rounds through this and just see how it does. And then I'll grab the 9C and see how it does. All right, got another magazine loaded up. And for anybody that's wondering, these are the Fiocchi Range Dynamic 115 grain FMJ. And it's running pretty well with them. One thing I can say I'm not wild about with this, or any of these pistols that are like this, is the limited amount of space that you have to try and rack the slide. Because unlike most other handguns, the styles like these, the slide goes on the inside of the frame instead of on the outside. So you only get about 3/4 of an inch instead of having that extra length on there to get a grip on. But if it's something that you are getting and it's your first one, it'll be something that you get used to easier than someone like me who's had mostly external slide setups instead of the internal slide rails. But let's see how this does and see. I'm going to be very careful here. We're going to bring this down to half cock. Right there. Okay. So the way I did that is I stuck my finger between the hammer and the firing pin, and I just slowly let it down. I don't recommend doing that unless you definitely have a completely safe space. But even if you're doing it like this, you can jack up your hand if it does get away from you and the slide comes back. So do not do that. I just want to test the double action because this is the only way to test the double action aspect of this handgun. So let's see how this trigger pull is. It's not horrid. Got away from me there. It's not awful. It's not horrible. I don't like the grip. There's no texturing. I am going to be looking at the budget options to fix that. Might eventually go with one of the higher costing options, as well as seeing if there's anything out there that we can get to maybe run a red dot on this. I don't know. I have one option at home that I think is supposed to work, but I'm still debating on it. I will do an in-studio video on that to see about this. But let's go ahead and grab the SAR 9C and just I'll see how it compares. Like I said, we're going to be running with the SAR 9C right now. I've had this for quite a while, and I honestly love the way this thing feels. A lot of people say, again, it's a Turkish clone. It feels and is similar to the HK VP9, but I kind of feel like it's its own thing. You know what I mean? It's not like the PSA Dagger being a Gen 3 clone. It's not like Strike Industries Gen 3 Glock clones. It's not something like that. And it doesn't use the same mags that I know of. It's not that it uses the HK mags. They have their own magazines. And so just to see, now I will say with the SAR 9C, it is for a polymer frame striker fire pistol, it is heavier. This is roughly twice the weight of my Smith & Wesson SD9. No, I'm not doing a video on that one. Have that one on my leg. Like I've said before, if you're going out to the range by yourself, especially when you're out in the woods, carry something that you're not going to be running. But this one, I got the handle it grip on here. It was slick. That's one thing I'm noticing about a lot of SAR handguns is that they are more of a slick finish. It is meant for more of a comfortable carry, because if it's up against your body, you don't want a really rough texturing, because it's going to rub you raw and it can actually start cutting you and making you bleed. So they try to mitigate that and give you some stippling, but have it smoothed out enough to where it's not a big deal. Now, I think I prefer this with the handle it grip on there. I got the rubberized one because it seems to give that same feel as far as it's more texture, it's better grip, but it's still soft enough that it's not cutting up into my hip or into my appendix, depending on where I'm carrying for the day. It does have a very strong recoil spring. So if you are weaker in the wrists, hands, arms, smaller stature female, it might not be the best. And the same with the B6C, excuse me. They are a little bit harder to rack. But let's see how much of a difference I feel when it comes to the trigger pull and the overall feel. Riding the slide lock. It does have a better trigger. This does have a better trigger than that. I am so used to striker fires, though. That could just be me. That is brand new. This is the first time. Those are the first two mags I've ever run out of it. So it could just be it needs a good break-in, because it's not a high-end pistol. It's not one of those, oh, well, we have the machining now, so we shouldn't have to have a break-in like a lot of handguns. It's a more budget-friendly option. It's a cheaper option to get and start you into concealed carry. But let's go ahead. I'm going to load that one up some more. Just kind of see how it starts feeling. If it starts feeling any better, running some rounds through it and see how fast I can run it. And if it's any better than running this. All right. I'm going to be testing my reload. See if I got this. I am not used to these pants. I threw on some tactical pants that have been sitting in the closet forever. And the pockets are not what I'm used to. All right. Let's try doing a reload here. That's not horrible. I don't like where the slide release is. So it's clear up here. And from back here, doing the swap, putting the new one in, trying to get it while keeping a good grip, it's hard to. But what I did to kind of mitigate that, get that put in my pocket. What I did to kind of mitigate that was, as I came in with my left hand, I just hit it. I noticed that I have to do that with like a 1911 too, because my hands aren't large enough to where my thumb can like fully encompass the slide release. But that wasn't bad. That wasn't bad. I don't know how that looked. I'm gonna go back and look at this later and see how horrible my recoil management was. But I mean, just for like dumping on that and then doing the reload, that didn't feel horrid to me. Let me know in the comments section what you guys think. I'm gonna see it before you guys do, but let me know what you think about that. I do know the stippling is an issue. When it comes down to it, for under 2 Bennies, the SAR B6C, I'd do it. I mean, you ain't got nothing to lose. It's a decent pistol. It seems to be running really good. The trigger isn't horrid. I've had worse. Let's just show you. So that's all the way back, right? And then a little bit of take up, and there's no wall. I will say that there is absolutely no wall to it. It's just a little bit of take up, and then you hit kind of a rough spot, and that's it. And then like it won't reset unless you bring it all the way back out when it's not being run. But even then the reset's not that much different. I don't know. I feel like after running it for a while, it's going to be better. And I feel like if I get some stippling on this or get some of the grip tape on this, some goon tape, something to help with that, because it is slick. Little bit of dry hands right now. It's chilly and dry today, even though we have some cloud cover. The humidity is really low here in Washington. So it even with dry hands, it's slick. A little bit of oil on my index finger from running it, and that's really slick. Running something like this, it might potentially cause some issues for grip, but like I said, we're going to see what we can do for that. But guys, that's all I got for you guys today. Stay safe, stay savage, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.